Welcome to Beer Untapped with Perry Miller, the podcast. I'm joined by Seth.
Hey, welcome, guys. Thanks for finding us on the internet.
Now, these shows originally aired on Brookings Radio, but now they're all here for your enjoyment. I hope you like it.
There you go. Sit back, enjoy the show, relax. Let us know if you want to see anything on future shows. As we said, this comes out live in the Brookings area, but enjoy this archive episode.
Beer Untapped with Perry Miller.
Welcome to Beer Untapped with Perry Miller. Warning. There's virtually nothing serious in this episode of the show. We're having a little fun this week talking about beer in the movies and TV. You probably have a favorite. I know I do. And so does Seth Cook at Wooden Legs Brewing in Brookings.
Couple movies that just seep. Let's use that word as long as we're ooze drip with beer. As long as we're going to be goofballs today. It's kind of a special spot to my heart. My wife. Jesse and I, our very first date, and this is way long ago, this is now however many, 12, 11 years ago, we went to Beer Fest in the theaters at the movie, and that was I guess that was my idea of romance. So we went to Beer Fest, and if you guys haven't seen that is of course the parody of maybe World Cup or anything like that, and it is nothing more than a college beer drinking movie. It came out in 2006, so I guess it is 11 years ago.
Yeah, you were pretty close.
Pretty close. There you go, Jess, 11 years ago.
It's also kind of a parody of just about every sports movie ever made.
Right. The premise is that there is a professional, yet secretive, Fight Club style beer drinking league found in Germany, and the Americans are always ousted.
Never fear, the underdog American team comes through in the end.
In 2006, it was really interesting because this was really one of the big points of the American craft beer industry. In the early 2000s, craft beer was just becoming a thing, and the premise of the movie is that Americans were on the outside looking in. And I know
the Germans rule.
The Germans rule, and we're reading far too into the narrative here of the movie.
I think so.
But the point being is that the Americans didn't know what to drink, couldn't drink, and couldn't participate in these types of things. And these were reserved for countries like Ireland and Germany and the UK and the Czechoslovakia. So the Americans broke into the scene.
Seth may be reading a little too much into Beer Fest there, which, by the way, has a 41% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. There are any number of movies where beer features prominently, but not all that many that are really about beer. Another that sort of fits that category is Strange Brew, the work of the crew from Second City TV, which has those famous Canadians Bob and Doug McKenzie trying to save the day from a mad brewer. Take off, you hoser.
The premise of the movie is that they want to work for a brewery, and the brewery wants to control the human race using mind control, and to test their mind control, they use it on hockey players. Like, that has to be an idea that was cooked up around a bar somewhere.
Right?
Like that had to be a note card idea.
That happened over Labatt's.
If you have not seen that movie, do watch it. Do not be disappointed in the ending. I think they ran out of budget and just kind of spun it up.
Yeah.
It's a beer-style movie. Let's not take it too seriously.
To add to the weirdness, Strange Brew is also reportedly loosely based on Hamlet. It actually gets a 73% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. More Beer Untapped on the way right after this. Welcome back to Beer Untapped with Perry Miller as we talk beer in the movies and TV. Another film where beer is prominently featured is 1977's Smokey and the Bandit.
Famous buddy movie, road trucking movie, open highway. And Burt Reynolds, Burt Reynolds Firebird. It's the Burt with the T-tops. That's a Smokey car, a Smokey and the Bandit car. Maybe people forget that what they were running was a truckload of Coors. Now, back in the day, Coors was only, and still is actually, exclusively brewed in Golden, Colorado.
But you could only get it.
But you could only get it in Colorado.
And
So even in Brookings here, Coors, I would know people that would go to Colorado just to bring cases of Coors back to South Dakota. And of course, this
back
is
when Coors was cool.
Back when Coors was the craft beer. No, I'm actually, and maybe if as long as we're keeping this as a beer show, that did show kind of the exclusivity of beers that you could get, and at the time, you got what you got. You didn't have the plethora of selection you'd go to the liquor store. You got what was regionally made here. And if you wanted something, if you think about it, as big as Coors, you'd have to drive states away to get this stuff. And that was no small brewery.
Smokey and the Bandit gets an 81% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Now, when it comes to television, bars are very often the setting on shows, especially sitcoms. None more prominently, of course, than Cheers.
Cheers is, of course, the long-standing example. When people have an enduring moment in a bar or feel like they are welcomed at a bar, they'll call it their Cheers moment, or they'll say, this bar is my Cheers. Just as well, every Cheers bar has a Norm. And if you haven't seen the series, then actually I think they're available on Netflix, too. I almost in their entire length.
And, of course, you have to mention The Simpsons, both for Moe's Tavern and Duff Beer.
You can't go wrong with Moe's from The Simpsons. Moe's and Duff Light. But of course, Moe's is a great.
The funny part of that is now you can get Duff beer. Somebody's making Duff beer.
I hope it is the lightest thing they make. I really remember the scene where they had Duff Light, and Duff Ultra, and it's all just coming from the same tank. Duff beer.
Duff beer is actually sold in several countries without permission, by the way. What's your favorite? That's it for this week's show. Until next time, drink local and drink responsibly.
Thank you for listening to this archived edition of Beer Untapped with Perry Miller. Feel free to listen to other episodes, and if there's anything you'd like us to talk about on a future show, please let us know. Thanks again.